for action against an established order, but without resorting to violence, is quite a global kind of a thing. But his legacy is not just political action. I mean, he had economic theory, he had a theory on human rights, on women, on dharma, on swadharma. So one has to understand Gandhi in a wide context in order to appreciate his relevance for today.
So if we are in today's problems, we have environmental problem, we have terrorism, we have economic almost meltdown in throughout the world.
Right. So let's take some of them. In terms of the environmental problem, it is becoming more and more established that a vegetarian world with ahimsa, non-harming to animals, would be a more holistic world, and you can actually feed a lot more people in a given amount of farmland if it's vegetarian diet than if you're feeding cattle and slaughtering the cattle to have meat eating.
This is the counter to what normally people will think. I mean, you need so much field to do the farming versus you have an animal that you can feed some food. And
because you have to feed the animal many times, many meals, and in order to slaughter and get one meal, actually if you look at if you take a 10-acre farm or a 1,000-acre farm, and in one case it's producing meat products and in the other case it's producing vegetarian, you can feed between 5 and 10 times more vegetarians than you can feed meat-eating people. So considering that hunger is a world problem, vegetarianism should be an important solution to that.
Gandhi was
very important in that. The other thing is, he was totally against this consumerist lifestyle, and he lived that. It was not that, a college, university or somewhere there is a conference and everybody makes all these speeches and then they drive home in their SUVs, their gas guzzlers, and live the consumerist lifestyle. He was actually living that. So he embodied this, and he found a way to be contented and have a meaningful life without too much consumption. He had very little things that he owned. If you go to the Gandhi Museum and Gandhi Library in Delhi, they look at all the things he owned. I mean, he had some sandals, he had these glasses, he had a pen. I mean, there's very little stuff he owned.
No stocks, no.
No, he was not an owner of any kind of a thing like that. So I think if you are going, if there's, the current world is driven on this idea of consumption and per capita consumption going up as a marker of progress, and the whole marker, the benchmark of economic development is per capita consumption, and that per capita consumption, second factor is channeled towards a Western lifestyle, which is broadcast on television and through models and through all kinds of means to the whole world. So we have a generation of people in the name of globalization who are becoming Western style consumerists. Now today only about 1 billion people live the Western lifestyle. You look at the population of North America and EU and Japan and some upper strata people in the poor countries, it's about 1 billion people, maybe 1.5 billion people. That means that 3/4 of the people are aspiring to become that, which they don't have the means today. And considering the growth in population from 6.5 billion today to 9 billion by the middle of this century, you're going to have the lifestyle that today 1 billion have, you will have 9 billion wanting that, 9-fold increase. So when you have such a huge increase in consumption, where will all the raw material come from? Where will so much energy come from?
Limited.
Where will so much capital come from? And so you will have a huge number of people feeling disenfranchised because they've been brainwashed that there is this one way of living which is good, and if you don't have consumption, you're no good. So this idea that consumption is a benchmark of your value in society and how successful you are is what Gandhi fought with a lifestyle that was not consumerist. And so his main critique of British Empire in Hind Swaraj is a critique of industrial consumerism, industry-based consumerism, because he felt it is unsustainable. He said this 100 years ago, that this model of civilization is unsustainable. And we are reaching that conclusion. A lot of people are reaching that conclusion. So it's a very Gandhian message of relevance today.
And even though a lot of people admire Gandhi, but what has made them fail in understanding this particular?
Because Gandhi, after his death, got appropriated, while during his life he would not get appropriated. And this appropriation of Gandhi posthumously is that they've made him into this very passive guy, and who's sort of a nice guy, and he likes everybody, loves everybody. So to be Gandhian is that we love everything. Gandhi was not at all a passive guy. I mean, he was one of the most active, confrontational, fiery guys ever. Non-violent, ahimsa, yes, but not non-confrontational. I mean, he was always having confrontations with the British, with the judges, with the laws. He would be defiant. And so to portray him as sort of a passive guy is a way to kind of tame the Gandhian spirit and domesticate it and appropriate it.
It's similar to what Obama may be.
Yeah, and you put it in a museum and then it becomes a very exotic thing, and you can celebrate his birthday and put out postage stamps, make some speeches, and everybody is very happy that you are this nice Gandhian. But to be the Gandhian, you got to fight against the establishment, and you got to play the price yourself, and you cannot be sort of saying, I'll avoid the price I have to pay in whatever ways because I want to just sort of go along and be happy with everybody. Gandhi was not interested in sort of, we love everybody under all circumstances. I mean, he had an idea of dharma versus adharma. That is a very clear.
Dharma is a righteous way.
Righteous way. And fighting adharma was his swadharma, which means my dharma, my personal role. So the idea of swadharma is my role in this whole universe is what? I have to find my role, and that is my dharma, my calling. And that is my way of being on the side of dharma.
Yeah, my role doesn't mean that I dominate.
Yeah, and it's not a selfish role. It is not an ego role. It is not
selfless role.
It is selfless. What is my selfless service to the bigger cause of dharma? And this requires a very clear understanding of what is adharma, and that Hind Swaraj book of his did that. What is adharma in the British civilization, the British Empire, the way they're ruling India, and the way Indians are becoming anglicized and getting bought into this. He was very concerned about a lot of young Indians in the first half of the 20th century just trying to ape the English people in all sorts of ways and losing their own culture and their own civilization.
And we are doing today.
It's become worse.
Everything is now British has been replaced with Western,
British
much, and many times American.
British people have said British Empire got replaced with the American.
Yeah.
And basically you find the Indology, the colonial Indology, which was started in Oxford to study the Indians as others in a way to contain them, became South Asian studies in many ways in the United States, supported by the US government. So these are not pro-civilization of the native civilizations, but they are really looking at through the lens of Western civilization and looking at others. And that is what has happened, and the number of Indians in the upper strata who've become part of this established way of thinking is very large now. So the world has shifted away from Gandhi in a sense, in a big way. India has shifted away from Gandhi. And I think the decisive moment in Indian history was the debates, struggles and arguments between Nehru and Gandhi, in which Nehru prevailed because Gandhi,
Nehru being the first Prime Minister of
first
India.
Prime Minister of India, Gandhi's prodigy, Gandhi loved him, wanted to nurture him as a successor, but Nehru failed Gandhi's vision because he went into centralized government, 5-year plan, Soviet-style socialism, large-scale steel plants, away from Gandhi's idea of panchayat, which is the